Coach, let's get right to McCUTCHEON team. You and I were talking before we started the interview that it appears record-wise it's a little bit deceiving, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, you can't. As we were talking, records are very deceiving in this. They are a very, very good ball club. Two of their three losses are to teams that are ranked in the state and are undefeated on the season. One of them being Kokomo. The other loss is game one. So, against Zionsville, so you don't get anything necessarily out of that per se. But no, they're a very good ball club. On film, they're they're playing like last year's NCC champions. They run the power football. They run very, very well. Passing the ball, they are very, very efficient. I don't remember the whole stats. I think last week their quarterback threw for almost 200 yards and was like 9 for 13 or something. So, they're fans that just go by records. That doesn't tell the story with them.
And if you look at other than the Zionsville game, they're within just a few points of being 4-1. So that shows
absolutely, yeah, and two of those losses, one came by within 1 point or 2 points. The other one was within a touchdown or less. So absolutely. You
mentioned passing the football, but they're predominantly a running football team, but they can do both.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, they have some great skilled kids. Their line probably isn't quite as big as it was last year, but they come off the ball and they're a power running team. You see a lot of I formation. They have a huge tight end who does a great job blocking and catching the football. And you always they're wrapping a guard and leading a back up. So I mean, you have the old isolation play, but they're bringing 2 or 3 guys at you and running smash mouth football. So it'll be a challenge. We're kind of predisposed to speed and having some speed on the defensive sides. We're going to have to make sure that we fly around and try to take good angles and tackle.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the tackling, and sometimes we talked about that where sometimes the guys aren't wrapping up the way they need to, and it turns out to be a big run. Is that still a concern with this one, especially with the way they run the football?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they are a power running football team, but they make several big plays in the running game. So it's not like the 3 yards and the cloud of dust. Their backs are pretty good, and they're able to take it to the house on any given play. So, it's just going to be one of those things that we're going to have to try to slow them down the best that we can and prevent the big plays running the ball, and hopefully we'll have a shot at that point.
On defense, what do you see that you might be able to exploit? Do they have any true weaknesses?
Well, the defensive line, they have 2 great big defensive tackles. One's 330 pounds or three plus. Their middle linebacker is probably about as good of a middle linebacker as I've seen on film in a long time.
Really?
When college coaches come through and they just talk about a kid just jumps out at you on film, their middle linebacker jumps out at you. Yeah. If there's a I don't want to say a weakness, but if there's a perceived area, their defensive backs are pretty good, but they're a little undersized, or at least the same size as us, so that might be an area that we might have to attack. I don't know.
Coach, you are at and now after this game past the midway point. How would you grade your football team right now?
C+. I mean, I think that we're a C+ and getting better. I mean, I think that we're, we have not still had the consistency in back-to-back weeks. We're still having some turnover issues. We're still allowing some big plays. But I think we're getting better. The telling sign will be this stretch of games, as I've alluded to earlier. When you talk about McCUTCHEON and a much improved Jeff, and Anderson's always dangerous, but then obviously the buzzsaw of Kokomo. So we're going to have to see where we're at, and we're obviously coming into the what could be perceived as the harder part of our schedule. So I don't know. Ask me after, right before Kokomo or after Kokomo, and hopefully it's different.
But when you guys are playing well, and we have seen it this year, when you're playing well and you get rolling, this is a pretty good football team.
Oh, absolutely. I don't mean no disrespect on saying that we're a C+
Sure.
team. We can be a very good football team, and we've shown glimpses of that on and off throughout the season. We just need to continue to show that on a more consistent basis. I really like our kids. They practice hard, good effort in the game, and things just have not always gone our way. And we're 4-1. Well, things haven't always gone our way. But as coaches, we're always striving to get better. We know that if we want to compete for an NCC or a sectional title, we have to be playing better at the end of the season than we are early on. I think we're making strides in that area. But time will tell.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe if some of the players, I don't know if this is the correct way to ask this, but as the competition gets a little bit stiffer, like you say, because you got a pretty good stretch of 4 games coming up, the players will be a little more focused and a little bit more in tune to what they need to do if they're going to succeed.
Well, I hope so. One of the things, but we talk about and every coach in America battles it. You talk about championship programs approach week by week the same regardless of who the competition is. Whether they're 0-4 or 4-0 or whatever the case may be. And that's kind of our mantra, and that's one of the things that we push for and strive for. But, you're dealing with 15 through 18-year-old kids, and sometimes it's hard telling what's going on in their mind. But, you like to think that we have some pretty good kids. We have some pretty competitive kids that, the cream has a tendency to rise to the top. So, I hope that as we get into the bulkier part of our season, I hope that, we'll see some players stand out on a more consistent basis.
We always talk about health, and right now, boy, if you need everybody as healthy as you can possibly be, this is the stretch, isn't it? So are you looking a little bit more on the healthy side? Or?
Yeah, we had an important piece get dinged a little bit earlier in the week, and we're kind of waiting to see on how he's doing. But no, obviously if you want to be healthy, this is the stretch. And then at some point, you look at it as well. Is it better to wait until tournament time? If you think you have a shot of competing, in sectional. But all things set aside, we're as healthy as we're going to be at this point, and the mantra, whatever 11 or 22 or whatever it is we put out on the field, they're expected to perform at a certain level, and hopefully we'll do that.
All right, Coach. Good luck.
Great, thanks.